Have you ever wanted to select something in a photo when you're using Photoshop, but you're not sure what tools to use, or maybe you're using the quick selection tool but you're not getting the most precise result? Well, keep watching this video because hopefully I'm going to show you how you can use multiple tools to basically give you better results when you're using the selection tool within Photoshop. Hey guys, Chris James here, welcome back to another video. Now, what I want to talk to you about and show you today is how you can basically select images within Photoshop using a variety of selection tools. Now, I know there's ways of doing it such as the pen tool. You can use the pen tool and then make the selection, or you can use the pen tool and make a clipping path, which is what I've done in a previous video, which I will link above. But if you don't want to do that and you want to maybe use a quick selection tool or just get some general selections, I want to show you that you can use different tools within Photoshop to basically add, subtract and just basically tweak the selection to get a more precise result. So I'm going to switch to the Mac now and we'll get started. Okay, so I've got my Photoshop open, and the first thing we need to do is go and find an image that we're going to use to select. And now a great resource that I found is a website called unsplash.com, and basically you get tons of images that you can just get for free, download them. Some of the people who are uploading obviously ask for like bit of a copyright thing on anything that you're using, but for the purposes of this tutorial type thing, we don't really need to worry about it. So I'm just going to look at finding an image that's quite interesting that we can use. So I mean this image here might work. I think we'll give it a go and just see how we get on. So you could either download it, or I'm just going to drag it into Photoshop. Okie dokie. So now we've got this in Photoshop, we can start using the selection tools. Like I said in the intro, there's the magic wand tool, which obviously selects various points. But it only really works when there's big contrasts, things like that. So obviously it won't really work in this image. Or you've got the quick selection tool, which obviously you can just go around and start picking up where you want, like that. Ooh. So obviously if you go too crazy, too quick, it does start sampling everything, which is a nightmare. And like I said, you might be doing this and you might just think, oh, I'm not getting the result I want or anything like that, but there are some good tips to use. So if you hold down, let me just increase the brush size. So if you hold down the Alt or Option key, you see that it comes up with like a minus sign, and that just means that now you can start subtracting things what you don't want in the image, and we can just start basically like get into the finer details of the image that we want to crop and select. Again, this doesn't have to be necessarily perfect because we're going to use multiple tools. So just there we go, and I'll carry on getting the face. So I mean, this way of doing it is good if you're just wanting to basically edit part of an image without doing too intricate of stuff, or you might have an image that's quite easy to work with. So obviously we've got a basic outline there, but it's not perfect. There's a bit here that needs sorting out here, and a bit of a hair which we might be able to get included. So like I said, you can use multiple selection tools. So I've used a quick mask tool there, but you can also then go into the Lasso tool and start using this to basically help with your image. Now I like doing this because if you've got quite rough edges or they're not too straight, then you can get away with it, which is nice. And again, using the Option or Alt key, you get the minus sign, but because we're wanting to now add to something that we've already got a selection on, if you hold down Shift, then it comes up with a plus, and then you can just start clicking. And then obviously with the command button, what I'll use is I'll just use it. Now if you've got a steady hand, you can sort of start free-handing stuff. Sorry, it wasn't command, it was option. So once you've clicked it, you can sort of start using this, and then just basically you're just getting the selection, and there you go. And you can go in more intricate and then start, like I said, you probably have to have a steady hand to do this, but again, you've got a nice sort of edge there. And then maybe we just need to go around and just see which ones we can start kind of getting with this Lasso tool. So again, holding down Shift, click, and then using Option, we can start freehand drawing this. Now because this is a little bit blurred, we'll probably get away with it, but if you do have straight edges, you might want to just use the Lasso tool as it is and not go for the freehand section. Now with this hair, obviously we can't really get every little bit into it, but what we can do is try and make it as smooth as possible. So there's this corner bit here which is just too pointy, so I'm just going to use the negative selection and basically just click around, and then again with the negative I'm just going to select out and then just freehand a bit of a curve, and it just gives it a bit more round. Now we can't include this, so I'm just going to go back to the quick selection tool, and obviously we can just then add that into. So it's just about using different tools to help get the best quick selection, if you will. And again, I'm just going to hold Option and just neg off that. The smaller your brush goes, the better the selection you can get, so that if you go smaller you'll get like a better selection. If you go bigger it'll include more in. But I mean, to be fair, this isn't looking too bad. There's a bit there which we need to include, so I'll just go around slowly. And what's good with the selection tool is if you're not, like, when you're dragging it you can see it's a bit rough, but then it automatically smooths out the edge a little bit, so don't worry if you think, oh, it looks like it's not going to smooth out or it's not right. Don't worry, because like there, it's just sort of adapted it and anchored it to the edge what we want. And again with this, we just want to minus this because it doesn't look too edgy. and that's looking quite nice. I'll just neg that there. Go back to the Lasso tool. You want to neg and then freehand this. So like I said, the freehand's good for when you've got not necessarily perfect edge or a straight edge. You can do it for like little curves like that. Things like this where you just want it to be a little bit more, and you can just kind of swirl it around and not be too precise, and then it'll get you that. And then again, it's just about flicking between the two. We want to add this little bit in. Shrink it down and just. And again, it's just about playing around and seeing what you can get, which is nice, because this would have took forever in using the pen tool, but just by using some tools together, we're able to get better selections than we would have done. And again, you can then start manipulating it to suit the image. So again, the Lasso tool, we want to minus. And I mean, when you're selecting, it's always sometimes nice just to go a little bit inside your selection, just because then you'll get a better, you'll not like get any of the background in. So I mean, that's looking quite good, I think. I mean, we've done quite a good job there. Now, like I said, I've gone through the Lasso tool, a quick selection tool, and obviously you've got the Magic Wand tool for stuff if you've got a bigger contrast in colours or sort of background, foreground type thing. But you can also use the like Marquee tools as well. So if you've got anything that's kind of prominent circle or square or anything like that, you can use it. So again, like with the Alt or option, you're minusing something off the selection, and with the Shift you're adding it. So like I've just got this the elliptical tool selected. Obviously I won't do it. So say you wanted her face to be as it is, you can just do that. Kind of playing around with it to tweak your selection and make it the best you can without having to be too precise, which if you're doing compositions or anything like that, then basically you won't really need to be as precise. But like I said, it's just about playing around with it, seeing what you can do, and using the quick selection tools is always good because you're not having to be as precise, and you might just want to, I don't know, see what an image would look like, and you don't want to spend hours using the pen tool to go around it to find out it doesn't work. And I mean, you can do rougher selections, but it doesn't necessarily work too well, because you might miss part of the image, or it might just look not quite right. Whereas this, you can start kind of tweaking around with it a bit more and getting more precise selections for whatever you're doing. Now, like, there are hard edges because the selection tool doesn't do a good job at kind of smoothing them out. But again, with this select and mask function, we can obviously feather the edges, so it just blurs it basically, so which is nice. And we've got the smooth tool, so obviously if I take down the feather, the smooth tool, so you just want to use it just until you see like it's all, so like not too much, but say about 10 is quite nice, and then we feather it out, and then what we can do is increase the contrast, and then we can also just shift the edging slightly, and again it's just about playing around and just seeing what basically looks good. I don't actually quite like that. So I'll keep the smooth on 10, bit of contrast, maybe not, but like I said, I'm not showing you something that's perfect. I'm just giving you advice on how you can create these selections. So then obviously if you're happy with it, you can click OK. If you want to tweak any more, then obviously you can start using the brush tool, and like where this is, you can just sort of fill in these, add a bit into it. Again, you can just basically keep going, tweaking it until you're happy with sort of the result. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to try and get this arm as sort of round as possible and smooth as possible. I think it's going to be pretty difficult doing it this way, because start just getting relatively smooth selections just by actually that shouldn't, might as well leave that. So I mean that's looking alright, I think. Again, we can see it without anything. We can overlay it, obviously onion skin, back to what we had the background. So what I'm going to do is, just for the purposes of this, I'm just going to find basically a background. So we can find, we've got to find something a bit light but not too light. Just move that over so I can see the image again, see what we're looking at. It was a bit light but not too light. And again, if you're doing compositions and artistic creative stuff, you won't really be bothered about finding something that's going to look, try and get it as realistic, but it's always nice to try and find something that'll benefit the image. And what about this? We'll try this. If it doesn't work, it doesn't matter. So I'll just bring that into Photoshop, if it'll let me. That's why it has two. There we go. Now I've got two. So I'm just going to ungroup this so I can bring this image into this image. Scale it up. To be fair, for whatever reason, I don't know why that's. So actually what I'll do is we'll just cut her out from the background, so then that'll make it easier. So we've got it background now. I just drag this in now. We can scale it. Let's click OK, put it behind her. I mean, she's looking a bit too tall, so I'll just transform, shrink her down a little bit. To be fair, because of the image I've chosen, I can't really shrink her down, because in this image she's obviously touching both background. So what I'll do is keep her the same size and just tweak this to make it suit the background. There's always a way. I mean, that probably looks a bit better. Looks nice. And then obviously with that done, what I sort of try and do is I'll just click a solid colour, darken it down a little bit, put it behind. What do oh, would help if I click the right. Sort of do soft light, and just put soft light, and then just change down the opacity. And what I feel like that does is it just sort of blends them both together, if you will. Now obviously this is too sharp for this background, so we'll just go to filter, render, blur, Gaussian blur, and we'll just basically try and find the blur that matches in the background. Duplicate that layer. Actually, I'll duplicate it before blurring it, because then I can do what I want. So then I will create a mask. And basically, I'm just gonna paint in this bottom edge, just because I think it'll just help. Maybe just go up to this line. And again, it's just about tweaking around, playing around with it. Once you've got all this, you can basically add anything really to it. I'm just going to go to adjustments. Add an adjustment layer. And basically you can darken it down, increase the contrast. So, like I said, I mean, if you was to look at that and you didn't know what we were doing, I think it could pass as being a genuine image, but more people might think, oh no, it's not. But again, it's just showing you that you can cut out, and used quick selections to obviously play around. The edges aren't ultimately exact, but again, I wanted to show you just an image that I hadn't necessarily practiced on and chose, because I feel like sometimes people practice, they get it perfect, then they show you the video and then it's like wow. But I want to basically show people who are doing it for the first time or haven't had the practice to do something, that it can still be relatively easy. So like I said, there you go. That's basically how you can use Marquee tool, Lasso tool, selection tool to basically get better selections straight away. And then obviously using the selector mask, we can then sample it and see what it's going to look like as a final thing, and just tweak contrast, edges, smoothing out the edges, or provide like a feather just to create a bit of softness. But hopefully you'll have learned that you can use multiple tools to get better selections. So I hope you've found value from this video, and I hope you've basically enjoyed it and learned something from it, because that's what I want. I want you to learn something that not necessarily you knew before, or even if you did, just gives you a bit of a better idea of how to use the tools to get better results when you're using Photoshop for collages, graphic design, anything creative you might be doing with Photoshop. Hopefully that'll help you do it. If you've liked the video, let me know below please, because I want to take on any of your feedback and just improve on the videos and get a feel for what I'm doing, whether you're enjoying it, whether there's videos you might want to see that nobody's done before. Let me know below. If you didn't like the video, again, still let me know below. Don't feel like, oh, you don't want to seem like you're trolling anyone. I'd happily take on any constructive feedback, any criticism, because I want to improve on the videos and improve on the content that I'm giving you and producing. So even if it's bad feedback, better than no feedback. So let me know below if you liked it or you didn't like it. I'm going to leave it there. Tune in for the next one and I'll see you.